Hey, CBC family, so excited about today's message. We are going to be talking about blind spots. You guys, there's a lot of us that assume we know everything. Like, what? No. I've been watching the world and all the news that's been going on, some of it very exciting, some of it not so exciting. Our family experienced something this last few weeks that has been very difficult on us. And during that process, which I will talk about, I watched a lot of comments on social media. Sometimes I have this love-hate relationship with social media, and I watched some very ignorant comments come across. But at the same time as watching that, I thought, you know what? You may not have ever commented like that, but sometimes your mind goes like that. Sometimes you begin to judge a situation without having all of the story. And God began to convict my heart, and I just want to share that with you guys. You know, one of the times when I teach my kids how to drive, I have a 23-year-old, I have an 18-year-old, and a 13-year-old, and two of them have now learned how to drive, right? And one of the first things that I teach them is about blind spots. How many of you know that every car has blind spots? I drive an SUV right now, and I remember I had one of my cars in the shop, and that I had gone to rent a vehicle so that I would have a vehicle during that time while that car was getting fixed. And they asked me, it was so funny, the sweet little girl behind the counter said, we have two vehicles that you could rent. One is like a Ford Focus or something like that. It was like a little bitty car. I'm not even sure I've got that name right, but it was a little bitty squatty looking car. And then the other car was a black Camaro. And I was like, the black Camaro, right? And so I jumped in that car, and I don't know if you drive one of those. They're super fun, and had fun for a week driving it. But there were a lot of blind spots in comparison to an SUV that has lots and lots of windows around it. And I had to be very careful to make myself very aware of the blind spots when I was changing lanes or doing different things. I had to very quickly adjust to the new blind spots of that Camaro. Well, it's the same thing in life, you guys. There are blind spots in our life. There are things we don't know. I know. You're thinking, really? I didn't know that I didn't know things, right? I know. We don't know everything. And this last few weeks, I'm really beginning to see that. The John MacArthur, Beth Moore situation, I'm thinking to myself, really? Really, I've watched not only the interaction or the way John MacArthur handled himself, and I mean, he's a wise man, he's written a lot of incredible books, but he handled himself not in a godly manner. He spoke about another minister, and he didn't just speak on what he believed, he dogged out another person. And I'm going to talk about that. We don't fight against flesh and blood, the Bible tells us. Even if he does believe the way he does about women in leadership, the way he handled himself in that moment, the way he publicly slandered another person is not godly, no matter what you believe. And I'm just going to go ahead and tell you, we're going to dig into that. He doesn't know Beth Moore's story. He doesn't know. I guarantee you, he hasn't sat and listened to her speak. I know that there's been Bible studies that she's written. Jesus, the one and only, has radically changed my life, made me fall more in love with both the Word of God and Jesus in ways that I can't even tell you. Just incredible Bible studies and even more that I've been through. And, you know, he had a blind spot with Beth, and he should not have spoken into that. I've listened to Kanye, you know, and I knew that I had a blind spot with Kanye. I had not followed him. I did not know his music. Obviously, the lifestyle that he led was not one that I would have connected to prior to his salvation experience. And so when it first started coming out, I saw my blind spots because I was like, whoa, is this real? Is this really going on? You know, I mean, that was my first, and I realized, ooh, I've got blind spots. So what did I do? I started watching. I started watching his interviews. I started watching what he was saying. I went to find out who his pastor was. I went to find out what his testimony was. I recognized that I had blind spots, and I went to open up that blind spot because I wasn't going to change lanes until I saw what really happened. And I've seen people in their own ignorance speaking into this situation like they know something. Until you find out what your blind spots are and really dig into those blind spots, you really cannot make a judgment call. You cannot. When I dug into, and I'm just going to, for those of you who follow me over on social media, and you follow Consumed by the Call, you know that we called out for some prayer. And one of our sweet young friends from a former church was missing, and I called out for some prayer. And later we found out that she had been involved in a robbery with another friend of hers, and that was heartbreaking for us. And so we continue to pray, still wanting her safe return. She was running with this friend, and unfortunately the story did not turn out well because the friend that she was with ended up killing her. It was devastating. She's the same age as my youngest daughter, who's 18, and it was devastating to us. But what was even more devastating was to watch the news and to watch people on social media with major blind spots and did not know her story and did not know anything about her beginning to pass judgment not only on her but her family. And for the first time, I had to face the fact that I might have passed judgment on other stories in the news without knowing anything about the background. I was looking at that situation and eventually posted her story because I wanted people to know that Bailey had actually, at the age, I can't even remember, she was very young, like 15, had been with a friend, and they had been driving through our town. It was a very, it was a small road, and just nobody doing anything wrong. It was one of those situations where bad situation. I mean, just nothing you can do. They ended up in a tragic accident with a very large truck, and because of that, Bailey lost her best friend in that accident. So Bailey, at a very young age, was dealing with that loss. Not only that, she had severe head injuries. As a matter of fact, the doctors literally told us she was not going to live. We thought, as we surrounded that hospital and surrounded her family, we were going to lose her. And we prayed and we prayed and we prayed and we watched as God miraculously healed Bailey. Bailey had been on tour with us as a youth group and was seeking after God, and there was just some really awesome stuff going on in her life at that time. And then the accident, and then a town that gathered around this family and prayed for her healing, and we watched God heal her. After that moment, I need you to know that Bailey began to struggle because of losing her friend. There is all sorts of things that happen when you're the survivor of an accident like that. Not only that, there are things that happen because of head injuries. There was a lot of background here, a lot of things that you need to know. And so we were heartbroken. And God led me to go ahead and share her story. But in the midst of all of this kind of stuff going on, God reminded me of our blind spots. I believe it's our blind spots that causes the racial issue. I heard an incredible message yesterday by Miles McPherson. He's written a book called The Third Option that is really talking about our race issue in here in America. We have blind spots, you guys. We all have blind spots in every situation and everything that we're trying to pass judgment on. We have blind spots, and if we'll start recognizing that we have blind spots, we don't know everything. Quit passing judgment on those situations. Now, can you say sin is sin? Absolutely. But here's the verses that I want you to recognize when you are beginning to face a situation. In Ephesians 6, beginning with verse 10, if you've been a Christian very long, if you've been in church very long, you've heard these, but I want you to hear them with a little more strength. Finally, be strong in the Lord and in his mighty power. Put on the full armor of God so that you can stand against the devil's schemes. How is these verses beginning to set us up? It says, I want you to be strong in the Lord. Okay? So if the writer of Ephesians is telling us that we need to be strong in the Lord, and then he's about to tell us how to be strong, First of all, you have to recognize that we need to be strong. We need to be strong, that there is going to be an attack. This is actually where the writer of Ephesians, where God is explaining to us that we need an armor. We are at war, right? So be strong in the Lord tells us we need to be strong. There is going to be a battle. There is going to be a desire to be weak, but we need to be strong. And we need to do it in what? His mighty power. God's mighty power, not our own power, his power. That's huge, and you're going to hear it in a minute. Put on the full armor of God. God is telling us we have an armor because we are going to fight. But who are we fighting? It says, then you can take a stand against the devil's schemes. We have to remember, we fight principalities, spiritual wickedness in high places. We fight the devil himself as Christians, as sons and daughters of God. We fight the devil. We fight spiritual wickedness in high places. Verse 12, now I need you to listen to this. For our struggle is not against flesh and blood. Our struggle is not against each other, you guys. We were all made in the image of God. Yes, there are some that do not know it, have not received it, and still walk in sin. They are not Christians. You're not a Christian just because you were born. You become a Christian when you choose to be born again. I get all that. I understand that. But God never intended for his children to be fighting each other. We as Christians who've been made alive again and the Spirit of God dwells inside of us, we don't fight the other person. We fight the demonic forces that come against that person. I don't look at somebody who has hurt me, spoke against me, or lied about me or slandered me. I love how Beth Moore reacted to John MacArthur. She called on her followers not to keep talking about him, not to slander him, not to join in him, that it needed to cease and desist because she knows she doesn't fight John MacArthur, right? She has her own blind spots with him, and she called on her people to quit. Just live as God told you to live and move on. Yes, we can call out sin, but we don't fight against flesh and blood. I'm hoping you are understanding me right here. We fight against, it says here, rulers, against the authorities, against the powers of the dark world, and against the spiritual forces of the evil in the heavenly realms. Therefore, put on the full armor of God. So when the day of evil comes, you may be able to stand your ground, and after you have done everything, to stand firm then. So what God has been really pressing on my heart is we have blind spots. Don't be so quick to make judgment. Don't be so quick to think you know what's going on. Don't be so quick to jump out on social media and share what you do not know. It's time, Church of the Living God, that we get on our knees. And when it comes to the Kanye situation, we need to hope for the best. We need to pray. We need to seek God. I'm so proud that he is being discipled, that he feels the need to speak out. He's using his platform to spread the gospel, to tell God, what else do we want, you guys? We want someone to use whatever their story is, whatever their platform is, to spread the gospel. Will Kanye do this perfectly? I don't know. But from my background, if he does it my way, he won't. He'll mess up. And I hope we as a church are ready for that. And yet, last Friday, I talked to you guys about, are we ready for the influx of people who are now searching Google? What do Christians believe? You've got a whole following that follows Kanye that are now looking to see, what is this that Kanye is talking about? He has influence. Are we ready to receive this hip hop culture into our churches? Are we prepared not only to receive them, but to disciple them as Kanye is being discipled by his pastor and by those pastors who are surrounding him right now? Are we prepared? Are we ready? Are your pastors, are your congregations ready to have a hip hop culture walk into the back door? You hope they are, because God will send them and you'll see a revival like you've never seen before. Are we ready to start reading the news and letting it break our heart instead of us passing judgment on families and situations and think that we know something? We need to get to a point, you guys, that we recognize that we have blind spots. I hope when you see a situation that upsets you, when you read a story that is sad, when you see something going on, that the first thing that comes to mind is, I have a blind spot, but God doesn't. So I tell you what, I'm just going to pray about this and I'm going to dig in. I think it's important. Recognize we don't fight against flesh and blood. We fight against principalities. We fight against the devil. We fight against the world. And so when I see someone that may be wallowing in sin, making bad choices, I just pray and I seek God and I cry. It's time, church, that we start having the tender mercies of God and remember that it is our Savior whom we swore to and said we want to be like, that stretched his arms across a cross, died as they spat in his face and as they chose to mock him. And in the most amazing, unbelievable way, the Savior of the world, the King and Creator of the whole world, said, forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do. Lord, fill us with your same mercy. Give us your eyes and your heart. Yes, we can recognize sin, but it's that sin that we pray against, and it's the person that we love. I love you guys so very much. Thank you for joining us at CBC. We hope you'll join us every time we upload. If you want to know when a YouTube video has uploaded, you need to subscribe. Go now, like, subscribe, comment. Let us know that you're here. And our prayer warriors are watching. We're going to be praying for you. Talk to you later. Bye.